Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off site-wide, plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions apply.
Imagine that this line represents time. Present 1985. Future. Past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate you, me, and Einstein. Fuck. Reality for everyone else.
Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to dive right back into our coverage on secret UFO projects from the 40s to the 90s. Last week, we talked a little bit about the Foo Fighters, Ghost Rockets, Project Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book, as well as diving a bit into the Robertson panel and the Condon Committee. Today, we're going to expand into quite a bit more. Some of them are a little less known, such as Moondust, Bluefly, Saint, and Blue Gemini, just to name a few. But before we do that, let's go ahead and bring in the rest of the hosts. Let's start with Jeffrey today. Jeffrey Fernandez, who doesn't speak Spanish. What's up, dude?
First of all, how dare you assume that I don't speak Spanish?
I have it under good authority that you don't speak Spanish.
Whatever, bro. All right.
Whatever, bro.
I know enough to know when people are talking smack about me in Spanish.
Do you, though?
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Do you?
Oh, I know.
Oh, that's right. It's doing that stupid thing now. I can't.
You got a wave light in there? That's
Yeah.
pretty sick.
I don't know how to change it. Jake got me that little thing right there. You got that.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, you did.
What'd I get you?
The Infinite Rabbit Hole
I have
neon
a
thing.
wave light.
Yeah.
This one
Oh, yeah.
waves. Not going to do it, but it does.
Well, since Jeff let everybody know that he does not speak Spanish, Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. My mom is in town from California, and Jeremy has me doing the show because he hates me.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
No, it's good. I just made some birria tacos. I had to eat real quick and then run downstairs. But yeah, I'm ready to continue with this. It's been a good weekend. My birthday is actually tomorrow. I'm turning 33 because I'm super old.
oh yeah, happy birthday.
And
Happy
old
birthday,
Jeremy
bro.
and his family is going to be over at our house having a barbecue. It's funny that I get to cook for my own birthday, but whatever. We're going to hang out, probably play some Jackbox TV, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, that was fun last time.
It was.
My wife's
I
going
don't
to
know
make me buy that at some point.
I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it's a game on your console, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, but it's called Jackbox, and your phone is a controller. So you get online onto jackbox.tv and they give you a room code, and you can do things like kind of like drawing pictures, and hopefully people guess what it is if you're prompted with, draw the color purple or whatever it is, right? And you're only given a red pen, right? A red coloring. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a fun game, and we definitely had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
All right. Well, we got somebody new in here. 14 the Winds says this is your mama.
Yo, mama.
Whose mama is this?
This is probably my mama.
That's your mama?
Yo's mama.
Probably. Hey, mama.
Watching live from your living room?
If this is Jake's mama, respond.
Ah, yes it is.
Blink
There they
twice
go.
if you need help.
All right.
Whitney says Chupa Mi Culo.
Hi,
you know what
Jake's
that
mom.
says, Jeff?
Yeah, come on, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, what's Chupa Mi Culo? Come on.
Don't look at her.
Chupa mi culo is
Eat my ass.
you dip that. You dip your chips in that.
You dip your chip in it. It's funny. I just said that, and Mom I could hear her cracking up upstairs.
It's the green one. Yeah, it's the green one.
Yeah, it's the green sauce.
All right, you guys ready to roll?
Yep.
All right. Project Moondust, Bluefly, Saint, and Blue Gemini. In November of 1961, Colonel Betts of Air Force Intelligence announced 2 new projects in response to the increase of the UFO presence over American soil, Project Moondust and Project Bluefly. Quote, as a specialized aspect of its overall material exploration program, Headquarters United States Air Force has established Project Moondust to locate, recover, and deliver descended foreign space objects. Operation Bluefly has been established to facilitate expeditious delivery to FTD, or the Air Force's Foreign Technology Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, of moondust or other items of great technical intelligence of interest. These peacetime projects all involve a potential for employment of qualified field intelligence personnel on a quick reaction basis to recover or perform field exploration of unidentified flying objects. As Howard Bloom states in layman's terms, this was in all respects a UFO SWAT and recovery team. The efforts of Moondust and Bluefly died quickly to the public eye, but unofficially lasted for years and could be potentially still ongoing. Project Saint and Blue Gemini followed up soon after Moondust and Bluefly. Project Saint was established as a quote-unquote satellite inspection program, which used the anti-satellite weapon system titled USAF 7795. This Agenda B satellite was for documentation only and would approach unknown satellites within a range of 50 feet and send pictures back to NORAD for identification. Project Blue Gemini, on the other hand, was the project tasked with shooting the unknowns out of orbit. The idea was to use a modified NASA Gemini space shuttle, which would be used for the disarming, capture, or destruction of unknown objects in orbit. But on record, this program never took off and died shortly after being announced. Or was it? All right, guys, what do you guys think about Project Moondust, Bluefly, Saint, and Blue Gemini? Just to kind of summarize that all for you guys, Moondust was the program tasked with finding things that fell out of the sky, right? And they didn't ever come out and strictly say that it was UFOs, but you could only believe. Bluefly was the collection of said objects. Saint came in, and then they were to identify objects in orbit. One of the objects that Saint identified, Jeff, was the Black Knight. And Blue Gemini was created to destroy whatever they found.
Okay, so first of all,
Whoa, he's got glasses? He's old, man.
Whoa!
they're blue blockers.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because there's a lot happening right here, as you can tell by the reflections. That's stupid. That's so stupid. Why would you shoot unidentified? Like, okay, I understand shooting some stuff that's unidentified out of the sky, right? Stuff that's moving like in a way that could be a missile or a plane, right? But it's just not identified as such yet. But something that's doing like what these UFOs are doing, why would you start shooting those out of the sky? Because clearly you
need to get a sample, dude. You need to get something and reverse engineer it. You need something in your hands.
Yeah, smart. Go ahead.
Or they already knew what it was and they felt like it was a defense problem.
You know what this reminds me of? That scene in Indiana Jones where the dude pulls out.
Never
the
seen
sword.
it.
You go ahead. I've seen it. I've seen all of them, unfortunately.
And he's like,
and then he shoots him.
yeah, Harrison Ford's just like. Like, this is the same kind of thing, right? You're just starting to shoot advanced aircraft out of the sky because you're like, what is it? Let's shoot one down. Stupid. Also, we just went fishing the other day at a park right across the water from NASA. That's like the Gemini park. So they have like big statues of like the Gemini symbols that they have on their patches, and all the astronauts' handprints and stuff are all like in the walkway leading up to like where we fish on the ledge there. It's pretty
You
cool.
should see if there's anything about Blue Gemini.
I should. You know what? Let me.
Oh shoot! When we did the parade in Elmwood, you remember those folks that were wearing like the blue or the red felt caps and stuff? They were riding on the go karts, and it was like Zor or something or another.
Yeah.
So they showed up over at the Pickle Fest, Jeff, and they all over their trailer they're pulling had Freemasonry symbolism.
Oh yeah, all over it.
That's right.
Yeah. So figured out what it was, and they were called the Shriners, and it was all Freemasonry stuff. So that just totally reminded me. Sorry. As far as my thoughts on this, it's interesting that there was, I guess, not divulged to the public at the time, but some kind of governmental projects to address this problem. So that probably leads more to me of it being not a military type thing, especially if they're trying to shoot the things down. So that's interesting. I'm not certain what to make of it, though.
I think that it's interesting that they had this, period.
Sure.
It lets you know that there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, right? We talked about a lot of the programs last week, which a lot of people didn't really know was a thing. I mean, everyone knows Project Blue Book. That's kind of a given, right? But how many people heard of Grudge or Sign that actually don't look into this kind of stuff? Now, I mean, to us, right, we've looked into this stuff quite a bit. Grudge and Sign are common terms, but a lot of people don't know it. I mean, but out of the two of you, did you guys ever hear of the Robertson panel?
No.
Probably not, right? Or the Condon Committee?
No.
I feel like the Robertson panel sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you what that is.
That's probably one of the more popular ones out of those. You know, where the Condon Committee was the Air Force's attempt to try to get the whole UFO topic off their shoulders, and they basically bought out. I believe it was at Colorado University. They bought out, you know, a bunch of people to go do this committee on UFOs, where they were still paying for it, but it wasn't under the United States Air Force umbrella. So it was off their shoulders. Whenever they were getting questions about UFOs, they were just pointing to the Condon Committee and said, go talk to them.
Sounds like today with Lockheed and Northrop Grumman and all those folks, right? Congress gets questioned and they're like, don't have the answers, sorry.
Yeah, basically same, but different, right?
Yep.
You guys ready to roll?
Yep.
All right, let's get into this is where it gets fun. Project Aquarius, Stargate, and Scanate. The U.S. Space Surveillance Center is a U.S. government facility half of a mile below the ground inside of Cheyenne Mountain near Colorado Springs, Colorado. In December of 1986, a program simply known as Box 9, which is tasked with monitoring space debris in a field directly over the United States, identified an unknown object that was unlike any other that they were used to tracking. Although seemingly small at the time, it was this that would serve as the first event that led to the U.S. government establishing a top-secret UFO working group. The object was spotted and tracked after it set off a sensor known as the fence, which is an act known as tripping the fence, by the way, which is the main tool described as the U.S. Naval Space Surveillance System. The fence stretches 1,000 miles off of each coast and spans approximately 3,000 miles across the southern United States from California to Georgia. By definition, the fence is a man-made energy field that reaches nearly 15,000 miles into space by using transmitters that are strategically placed that send out a continuous fan-shaped wave of radio energy. One such transmitter was a facility in the Texas town of Lake Kickapoo. Once the transmitter from Lake Kickapoo sensed the object, other facilities all across the South began to lock onto it as well. Facilities such as the ones in Silver Lake, Mississippi, and Hawksville, Georgia. These facilities use instruments, such as the fence, at their disposal to calculate the object's speed and size. From there, the information was relayed to the headquarters for the system in Delgren, Virginia, where an IBM 1800 computer would decipher the object's exact location, path, and anticipated ground track. This information was then transmitted to Box 9 at the U.S. Space Surveillance Center in Cheyenne Mountain, Montana, where they would typically plan out whether or not the object was in orbit or falling to the Earth, which in the case of falling on American soil, the TIP, or Tracking and Impact Prediction Team, would take over. The object was moving from west to east, but was moving rather erratically, and it also did not match the description of any of the 7,087 objects that were already being tracked by Box 9 at the time. No object on Earth by any country or their military had the technology to move like this thing was, and as one of the airmen tracking the object was stated by Howard Bloom in his book Out There as saying, quote, "It looks like we have someone joyriding up there." This led Commander Sheila Mondren to place a call to the CNIC NORAD, or Commander Naval Installation Command of North American Aerospace Defense Command, to report the object. And shortly after Commander Mondrian placed the call, setting off a major chain of events leading to many top secret and historical government projects and events involving UFOs, remote viewing, and much more. It simply disappeared, and the entire network of the top tracking technologies at the time failed to find it again. Due to this unforeseen disappearance, the standard response was for Box 9 to transmit a message from Cheyenne Mountain, which set forward a request for response from the entirety of the space detection and tracking system spanning the entire globe, and use technologies such as satellites, radars, telescopes, receiving equipment, and cameras to help retrack the object. Unfortunately, this object was never found again, and the alert was officially recalled after 18 hours with word of the failure and the craft that seemed to move in ways more advanced than any human technologies available at the time made its way to the Pentagon, the Joint Chiefs, and President Ronald Reagan himself. But it would be an Army colonel from the Defense Intelligence Agency's Directorate for Management and Operations who would enlist the powers of the top secret government program known as Project Aquarius. All right, I know a lot to take in there, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
I mean, I think that it's important for people to know that they didn't make this because of UFOs. They made this because of the threat of nuclear warfare. That's why the facility is half a mile below the ground in the Cheyenne Mountains, right? So, but it still looks for objects coming into U.S. airspace, whether that's a missile, a nuclear warhead, a fleet of planes, whatever it is, right? Or would it be a flock of planes, right? It wouldn't be necessarily UFOs. So I don't think they made this because of UFOs. They made this because of the threat of nuclear war and whatnot. And to know where the missile's going, or the projectile, where it's going, and where it's going to be landing, how much time, that sort of stuff. But it is interesting that all the way back in the presidency of Reagan, they're tracking things that they're saying aren't from the United States or any of our technologies and things like that. Because, this has been going on for quite some time. That's very interesting versus what we're just getting finally, the U.S. government to open up to today, where it's just like, so what, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, neat. It's neat.
Hefe?
Yeah, starting this type of program doesn't really strike me as odd, really, especially during the time. But I think that we talked about this 1,000 times, right? I think that at the time we had some of this technology, maybe not us, but the Nazis might have had some of this technology. There might have been some breakaway groups that had this technology on Earth. So I'm not necessarily convinced that this was like aliens or anything like that. That's pretty much it so far.
Well, this was enough to raise the red flag, to take people who do this for a living and have them say, we don't know what this is. These are people that watch the skies over the United States with this technology day in and day out. And like I said, there was 7,000 something objects that they were already tracking, known to exist, where this object wasn't moving in a straight line. It was going back and forth, cutting at 90-degree angles. One of the airmen even came out and said that it looked like someone who was joyriding up there. Now, the way that this thing was moving, it could not physically do that. Now, one thing about most aircraft, if you try to cut a sharp angle while going top speed, you're going to cut your tail right off. A lot of airframes aren't built for that. I mean, shit. I don't even think fighters are built for deep cuts like that. They have to.
Well,
they have
the only thing that can cut a 90-degree angle is a helicopter. All right.
Right.
So either going forward and going down or going forward and going up, right? That's like a 90-degree angle. Nothing can go left or right at a 90-degree angle that we have. Even fighters, they're going super, super fast, but they'd have a wide arc arch as they,
What was the
make
altitude?
that turn.
Did you say the altitude? What was the altitude?
I don't remember. Hold on. I'll look at it.
Was it high enough for it to be like zero gravity?
I don't have an altitude.
I know that they said they were scanning 15,000 miles into space, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure 15,000 miles is zero gravity for sure, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So if this object was in zero gravity, it's still possible that even with conventional type stuff, something could move in 90-degree angles in space, going pretty quick. I don't know if you guys have ever seen videos of those pulsing jet engine machines that hover and it's got jet engines on all sides of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a jet engine or what it is. It's like a pulse rocket of some kind, and it can do quick jolting maneuvers in all directions. Sorry, the mic. And that's just in a lab somewhere.
But that thing is slow, right? That's super slow.
Well, this is what I'm saying. That's in a lab somewhere and on a video on YouTube. So,
Right.
But that technology is probably advanced to a point somewhere else in a bunker, and maybe in space and zero gravity, you could use something like that to kind of have an object making quick maneuvers in space in zero gravity. It's not going to tear up the frame. It's not going to tear apart the people inside of it. That's not even to mention, like I said before, I think that some people had advanced technologies at this time already. But
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think so. But I made that clear last episode.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You want to believe. It says it behind you.
I do. And it says it right here. I want to believe, but I don't.
Good to know.
No, clear that up. Not that I don't believe in this. I just don't believe in Jeff and what he's saying. Yeah. Just to be clear. I believe in these right there.
Fair
Those.
enough.
What?
Carry on.
Wavy images.
Yeah. Well, it's a little flying
cool.
saucer. Everybody knows what this is. Anybody who's seen X-Files has seen this, right? X-Files is arguably way more popular than Star Wars ever was.
How
Right?
do you know? You never even seen Star Wars.
See? Not that popular.
You wouldn't even know Star Wars. You wouldn't even know Star Wars marketing or stuff if you walked past it because you've never seen it. You'd just be like, oh, I don't know what this is, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You have no idea how big Star Wars is.
Yeah.
He's like Harry Potter, who I've never seen before either.
Right.
All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yes.
Ready.
All right. This is my favorite part of this presentation. Origins of Aquarius. In the old executive office building across from the White House in Washington, D.C., a program was being born in the form of a group of people in a lead-lined conference room, which was being referred to as the Vault, in the fall of 1985. In this room, a small team of science and technology staff members was set to begin the initial tests and operations, which revolved around a single man in a Navy's officer uniform sitting in the middle of the room, in which they referred to simply as their viewer. Author Howard Bloom describes the next evolution of this initial event, where one of the staff members began to give the introductory speech, which included information on the project itself. Quote, "What we will demonstrate," the scientist promised, "is the existence of a new perceptual channel through which certain individuals are able to perceive and describe remote data not presented to any known sense." The channel that this scientist was describing was the phenomenon now more commonly referred to as remote viewing. And the purpose of this particular test was to determine information unknown at the time about specific latitudinal and longitudinal coordinates of a specific target, after being given the specific coordinates by another man in the room who was the viewer. This man, who stood at the center of the entire room's attention, bowed his head as if in some sort of trance and began spewing out information about what he was witnessing at these coordinates while physically being in the vault, and without any other tools or inputs from electronics or other sources. Quote, "I see a house, big, a mansion, actually pillars. After his words trailed off, he was given a piece of paper and a pencil and asked to draw what he had seen. The image that came into being from the series of shapes he drew was then passed around the room of scientists and military personnel. The man who sat in the center of the room, who just drew a vision, witnessed of a far-off location, stood up and handed a briefcase previously handcuffed to his wrist to the scientist by his table. The briefcase was unlocked, and a black and white image was revealed to the room and viewer for the first time. This photo was of a white pillared house that perfectly matched the one that was drawn by the naval commander standing in front of the audience. The image was originally taken by satellite, and the commander added one more piece of critical information before the initial trial wrapped up. Quote, "It's the country dacha, or home, of Mikhail Gorbachev, the then president of the Soviet Union." The name of this mind-blowing program was then officially given the initial title of Project Scanate. The second test of Project Scanate was to test its applications in anti-submarine warfare. This test, which was also taking place in the vault, involved the same viewer and another naval commander who stood in front of the table with the remote viewer. The standing commander reached into his briefcase and withdrew a stack of 6 photographs, all of which highlighted a different submarine that was a part of either the United States or Soviet Union's militaries, all of which were armed with nuclear warheads. The commander placed each black and white photo in a 3x2 grid in front of the viewer and asked the man to state the global locations of all 6 subs using the phenomenon then known as scanning. The accuracy of the viewer's vision would be confirmed by charts from 24 hours previous that were currently locked in the standing commander's briefcase. One of the 6 pictures, he accurately pointed out the locations of a sub off the coast of Iceland, a Soviet boomer off the coast of South Carolina, and another trolling the waters in between the state of Maine and Nova Scotia. He was unable to find one, but this was actually a good thing, as it was not built yet, but rather was a conceptual drawing of the submarine. The real surprise of the day came from when the man was looking for the 5th sub. The man, acting as the viewer, snapped out of his trance and began to look around the room awkwardly. He claimed to have found the sub, but while he was looking, he saw an object hovering directly over its location in the air. When asked to draw what he saw, the room all came to the same conclusion. The object the man seemed to have drawn was a flying saucer. Overall, after the initial 6 months trials were concluded, the program was considered a success, even though the combined accuracy of all viewers tested tallied at 46% accurate while using the technique known as scanning. But it wasn't ever established as an official, publicly known technique employed by any branch of the government. But as we would later learn in years to come, the Defense Intelligence Agency created an offshoot of Project Scanate with the goals of finding enemy submarines from remote locations around the world, officially named Project Aquarius. All right, gentlemen, anything to talk about with Project Aquarius?
Jeff does.
Yeah, you get into like I think what it's like the Hunt for Red October.
Mm-hmm.
So I specifically didn't get into a ton of stuff when it comes to Project Aquarius because I have already started on an entire episode dedicated to Project Aquarius. So I didn't
So you're going to get into that like in the future.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
So I'll talk about it now because fuck it. If I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm wrong since you've already started the research on it, right? But isn't the Hunt for Red October them using, I don't know if it was Project Aquarius, maybe it was, but it was one of these remote viewing programs where one of these guys basically found this like new Russian sub that was being built, right? And he was like basically telling them in his remote viewing, like, hey, look, here's where this new sub is being built. Here's like these dimensions of it. And the engineers and all these people didn't believe him or something at the time, I guess. Like it didn't really go anywhere. And then he, I guess, called out a date, if I'm not mistaken. He even like named, hey, look, if we go and fly your satellite over this area like on this day. And then when they did this, they had built a canal from the factory they were building this submarine to the ocean, and there was this new submarine, this new class of submarine sitting in the water in the bay. And like they were like, oh snap, like not only did he see the submarine being built, but he also knew that he saw the future as well to some extent.
Never seen the movie, but I'll tell you what movie. TV show or comic
might
book
be a
or whatever.
movie.
it
I
is.
don't know.
It's a
I'm not telling
movie, but it's Sean Connery playing a Russian commander. So,
No, I'm
with a
actually.
Scottish accent.
I remember reading about this like years ago, and then recently on the Sean Ryan podcast, there was a dude who I think was the guy, if I'm not mistaken.
That was a great fucking episode.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Right?
Yeah.
You remember this?
Yeah,
Right.
I'll get his name.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's same stuff. And then, just to kind of say something about what was it, him remote viewing the submarine or the UFO over the submarine.
Yep.
Look, either it's hey, look, they're interested in the nukes and all that, right? So the UFOs are there watching the nukes, the aliens, right? Or like I said that day, I have this kind of like working theory, I guess, that the UFOs might actually be the object that manifests itself in 3D reality when a remote viewing is happening, right?
We've talked about that quite a bit. I think that's a very interesting point of view. I have a new point of view because of some research that I did today, but we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like if you do the remote viewing, you look somewhere or some time, right? Like a weird phenomenon, object, what we would only see as like a UFO appears, and that is the viewer, right? So maybe you could see that as well if you're the viewer. Maybe you could see it from an outside perspective, like you're looking at it, because it's weird, right? Astral projection and remote viewing, it's a weird thing. It's not as simple as just like, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not under the impression that remote viewing is false. I think it's real, but it's demonic and unnatural. With that being said, to Jeff's point, well, then why do we see UFOs over nonsense, over just things that don't matter? Like, there are people say they've seen UFOs over fields and stuff. Like,
could be some dude that's just peeping on his ex-girlfriend, man. Could be some weird shit.
You think?
Maybe.
It could be. I mean, like, the thing is too, right? Time, the whole thing is weird. Time's not linear. So if I remote view and look at you there, or maybe I'm looking at something at a different time,
sure,
right? That could manifest the UFO in another time as well. Like maybe that UFO manifests always in that spot. I don't know. It could be something weird.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
I don't think that's what they are. I think it's an interesting idea. I just don't think it's what they are. But
sure, I'm just riffing off that right now. But
I do have a movie that some people might be familiar with, and that is The Men Who Stare at Goats. That was Project Stargate, I believe it was, which was literally the third in line. So it went Project Scanate, Project Aquarius. Then after Project Aquarius went down, it went Project Stargate. Which that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, was based off of true events. There was an actual branch inside of the military, or not a branch, but a division within the military. I can't remember exactly which branch of the military it was, but they specifically were enlisted to work in this remote viewing field.
Right.
And there was a lot of success that came from it. That guy's name, by the way, was Edwin C. May. That was a good episode. That was by the Sean Ryan podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
You guys got me into that hard, by the way. I'm like,
Yeah.
really fucking into that.
He has great guests, man. Just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the story of Scan8 and Aquarius. I can't remember if I talk about it in this presentation or if I strictly left it to just the Elmwood presentation, but Scan8 or Aquarius was the program that was spying on Elmwood. And that's when the CIA sent those NASA engineers.
Nice.
They sent them because somebody in Aquarius noticed something. Don't know what it was.
Speaking of which, Jeff, have you done the FOIA request yet?
No.
Absolutely not.
Scum.
You have to ask in Spanish.
Yeah.
Dude, paperwork is like the last thing I want to do, man. Let's be real.
Come on, bro. We're counting on you.
You told the people at the auditorium that you would do it.
Yeah.
Listen.
You didn't say we. You said,
yeah.
You said, and I quote, I, Jeff Sanchez Fernandez, comma, will find out why they were here and submit a FOIA request today. And here we are, what, a month later? Gosh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was
Whitney, you
word
did
for
not
word.
hear it. You're a liar. You were outside the whole time. Do not even jump in.
I was filming. I'll kick you right in the face.
Not that
They're gonna boo you next year.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna boo you so
I
hard.
totally remember everything all the time, but can you just tell me what it is that I was supposed to FOIA request? Because I totally forgot about that.
Why NASA sent their engineers to Elmwood? Come on, bro.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He's like an elephant, but with amnesia. Even Crystal's laughing at you. See, she knows.
Yeah,
She knows.
I will look into it.
See
I'll give
that?
you a date of tomorrow.
He's gonna fail.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
fails everyone. Look at him.
Look
Failure.
at him. Look at him all failing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
The working group. Within the first 14 months of its establishment, Project Aquarius and the scanners employed in their efforts found a total of 17 unidentified flying objects hovering over the water where their true targets hid. While many of the higher-up members of various government entities saw this as proof that the phenomenon of scanning was bogus and a waste of time and funds, an Army colonel from the Defense Intelligence Agency by the name of Harold E. Phillips, who was previously standing as the Associate Coordinator of Space Reconnaissance Activities, saw the presence of the strange craft as an opportunity. The then newly titled assistant to the DIA's representative to the National Foreign Intelligence Board's Committee on Imagery Requirements and Exploration, or COMIREX, Colonel Phillips' belief in the presence of UFOs began when he was a child in a cornfield in his hometown in Iowa that he and his father were walking along one night when a, quote, domed-shaped ship as big as a Greyhound bus and as bright as a Broadway marquee flew past them. From this moment on, he believed in something more to the sightings that were reported in the thousands of every year. As one of the highest ranking and powerful job titles in the entirety of the U.S. intelligence, Phillips was directly responsible for missions involving U.S. spy satellites. As the most intriguing officer involved in programs parallel to Project Aquarius, when Phillips received the report from Cheyenne Mountain of an unknown object in the skies over the U.S., he became upset at the lack of interest the military seemed to have when an unknown and possibly alien craft was tracked through U.S. airspace. So he immediately requested that Project Aquarius focus their attention temporarily to a new target, and his request was approved. 3 separate viewers in 3 separate chambers were individually given the coordinates of where the object originally tripped the fence and given the instruction to scan the specific area for anything out of the normal in the last 48 hours. When the drawings were eventually faxed to the colonel's office in the Pentagon, all 3 showed slightly different versions of a rounded, wingless craft. Shortly after, in February of 1987, Phillips would invite a group of 17 top-ranked military and government agency officials to a meeting in the most secure conference room in the Pentagon known as the Tank Room to announce the convening of a new working group that was vaguely described to the attendees prior to attending as something involving response to the increase of unknown aerial phenomena in the skies over the United States. Once the secret meeting of highly important people began, the lights turned off and a projector screen lowered to allow Colonel Phillips to explain the purpose of their involvement in this new team. Over the next 45 minutes, the team was briefed on the events involving the fence, Cheyenne Mountain, and the establishment of Project Aquarius. And when it was all over, Colonel Harold E. Phillips welcomed them all to the official establishment of what was officially being called the Unidentified Flying Object Working Group. According to the two inside men that author Howard Bloom had contact with, the two official purposes of the newly formed Unidentified Flying Object Working Group, as stated in his book Out There, was, quote, to review and evaluate the information obtained by all previous official inquiries, both public and clandestine, into the UFO phenomenon. 2, to review and evaluate all attempts by the scientific community to search for extraterrestrial life. 3, to review and evaluate selected sightings and other evidence of UFOs as alleged private individuals. 4, at all times keep the existence of the Unidentified Flying Object Working Group's existence a secret from both government agencies and the public. And 5, its institutional life was to be open-ended, as long or as short as was necessary to determine positively the existence of extraterrestrial life. All right, guys. UFO Working Group. What do you think? Hey, don't all speak.
Sorry, I was just looking at the chat. Let's see. Breadfam332 said, atrazine frogs? Jeff, what's that mean?
Turning the freaking frogs gay, man.
Oh, don't get us banned from Twitch.
It is, man.
It is.
True.
Yeah.
Put another coin in the Alex Jones was right jar.
Yep. That's come out as factual.
Oh, Newsom
says fake his space is fake and gay.
Shane's in here. I fly a jetpack spraying human feet.
All right. So the UFO Working Group was created in response to Project Aquarius spotting that object tripping the fence and being tracked by Cheyenne Mountain. And what Project Aquarius was watching, or what they saw, was your typical flying saucer. So, do you buy it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think any of us really question, are UFOs or flying saucers or what? Like,
I think it's
a phenomenon happening.
I think the more the question is, do you buy that the government was using Project Aquarius? Sorry, I forgot which one we were talking about for a minute. To spot an aircraft, and then created an entire program or working group to literally look at all the backfill of every document ever presented to the government and to the private sector.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because, it's always been my opinion that it's not the government that is doing like the real sketchy string pulling, right? It's the private sector, some breakaway situation from the private sector, right? Maybe some government officials might know about it here and there or whatever, but so I think when the government started realizing like there is something that we're not aware of that's kind of out of our control, like let's figure out what's going on. Of course they made programs to figure out what's going on, because it wasn't them, it was Raytheon and Lockheed Martin's backroom stuff.
So let's Wowens 1190 made a comment saying, I think it's the government flying their new planes.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think so. I just don't. I think that, like I said in a couple previous episodes, I don't think that the government nor the contractors would be able to completely keep it all hush hush. I just don't think it can happen.
Under penalty of death?
Somebody would leak that shit out. Yeah. People leak shit out all the time.
Well, they did. People always leak shit out. We just get labeled crazy. You get ostracized. Some people get killed, and it's just systematic. And eventually, it's just normal for people to look at it as crazy in society. But when you're doing my labs, right? Because we don't even talk about my labs. We never really talk about my labs, the military abductions, right? And
we just
and
talked
that's
about
a-
my labs in an episode.
Well, we briefly touch on it. Like we always mention it as like a thing like I'm doing now, right? But we should do like a whole episode on it because I even think that the term my lab is just the wrong term because again, it's not the military. It's not a military abduction. It's like
Gov
some
labs?
other term. Huh?
Gov labs?
No, it wouldn't even be the government. It'd be con labs, contractor, conabs, contractor abductions, right? So, yeah, it's not the military.
I want
But
to
if- yeah,
talk
they
about what I researched today so bad, but I'm going to hold it.
if they show up at your house or whatever, you're sleeping in the middle of the night and they show up in a freaking UFO with an actual alien in it, they created in a lab, a
Yeah.
chimera of some kind.
Yeah, you're going to shit yourself.
And you're going to shit yourself, especially if it has some of these astral projection and remote viewing capabilities that we've talked about in Gateway Process. Because if you notice, the other program was started the year after the Gateway Process document was published. So they've already learned for the probably decade before Gateway Process how to do all this shit in some back room somewhere. Then they published this thing to the military and they're like, hey, here's the deal with it. And the next year they come out with this program. They're like, let's use remote viewing to figure out what are these craft that we have no idea what they are.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Scenario.
Uh-huh.
You're laying in bed, you wake up, and there's a gray alien hovering over you. What are you going to do?
Shit my pants.
I'm going to clench my butt cheeks.
I'm gonna
Because
shit my pants.
they're known to put things up there.
I'm going to get
And
the
then
Glock.
I was going to say, and then I'm immediately going to reach for whatever.
Get the
whatever.
Glock and get it right in its big dumb face. The big bulbous eyes and its stupid mouth with no nose. Just blow its brains out all over the ceiling and then we'll see what it's made of. Is it mechanical or bio? I don't know.
So
America.
Wowen said that she would make them pancakes, but did you know that there is a famous Wisconsin story or incident where a farmer was given pancakes by alien beings that came out of a UFO? We should cover
I've
that
heard
one day.
such things. Yeah, we
We should
should.
cover that one day.
And he
It's-
gave them his famous Wisconsin made or family business syrup and they didn't probe him.
It's the only reason the aliens haven't blown the planet up.
It's
that
'cause
one
of the-
guy gave them pancakes and
syrup.
they're like, they have this treasure
No.
on this planet. We
No,
must
no,
destroy it.
the aliens gave him pancakes.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
but he gave them the syrup, so they haven't blown up the planet. Plus, we have the
Yeah.
tightest of buttholes in all of the universe, and everyone knows that.
Yeah, aliens are flying around in flying saucers eating pancakes without syrup.
What if
Yeah.
they're just here for the syrup?
They
What
might
if we find
be.
out that the aliens came across the galaxy?
Well,
just
then, by the
because
grace of
the
God,
only
we have
place they
maple
have
trees on
syrup.
our planet.
I don't think they're from another planet. That's just me. I think they're from here.
Wherever they're coming
I think
from,
they like pancakes and syrup like everyone else.
they just don't have syrup on their planet, so they got to come get ours.
Well,
Best place to get syrup.
are you guys ready to move on?
Pancakes clog you up. Well,
What do you got, Jacob?
I haven't really said anything this section.
Oh, we'll say things.
The UFO working group is interesting. But I don't know if that can't do butt stuff when you're clogged up. Oh my gosh, that's from my wife.
The chat is fun this time. This is good.
This
I
is
like
fun. The thing that you prompted me or prompted us in the beginning of this conversation was that do we believe that the government's put together a group to look at UAPs or UFOs and all of the evidence of them? And I forgot how you put it,
Mhm.
and I would say no. It sounds like a bunch of baloney to me.
Really?
They just don't seem interested.
I think
Like
they're
that-
extremely interested. I think that the U.S. government has no fucking clue what any of this is. I really do. I think that they do not have a single fucking clue
Well, then,
as
That's
to
what
what.
I'm saying.
but that's
what I'm saying
the
this whole
problem
time.
is that why then in the congressional hearings are they saying things like, oh, we don't know for sure, but more will be explained in the closed hearing. Like, obviously they do. They know something. They're just not willing to say it because they want China to know that they have something capable of breaking the sound barrier without making any noise, nuking something, and being back home in 10 seconds.
I think the same thing. I think you're both right. I think that The government is now getting dripped some of the technology.
Yes.
From this breakaway, the shadow. Let's just call it the shadow government. It's the easiest term for me in my brain. Okay.
No.
You don't like that term?
No.
Whatever. Dude.
I mean, the shadow government is a thing. Yes, but that's not what's controlling this.
You don't think that's what's controlling those?
No.
Okay, fair enough. In my opinion, that's what's controlling them.
Well, your opinion sucks. So
I'm going to say the shadow government is dripping their technology to the governments of the world now. And I think back in the 80s, they were trying to, the government was just getting their hands on remote viewing, right? And they were like, let's try to use this to figure out what that is. And maybe it worked, right? Maybe, or somewhere from between then and now, it got to a point to where the governments are now getting their little bits of shit that they can hit China with or whatever they want.
Sure.
Right? But they don't have all of it.
I agree that we're starting to figure it out. I think they know a little bit more than what they lead on. Like they have an idea, but when you're talking about like what we talked about in part 1, right? We started off with the Foo Fighters in World War II. They had no fucking clue then. Then we talked about Grudge, Sign, and Blue Book. And I think even during Blue Book, they didn't have a fucking clue as to what was going on. I don't think it was until, I want to say 10 years ago that we didn't really know what was going on. I think they have a much better idea now, but I don't think they know. I don't. I really don't know. I think I know, but I don't think they know.
You think you know?
I think I know.
But you don't think that the governments of the world know?
Correct. I'm smarter than all of them.
You don't think any of the astral projectors or...
Oh, no, they probably know. They probably
remote viewers or human clone genetic projects stuck in a bunker for their whole lives, just focused on figuring out what it is. You don't think that any of them know?
No. No. I think there's people that know. There's people that know, but I don't think the government... I think they're starting to know.
Oh, well, I mean, if you want to talk about the government as a whole, like Congress, no, listen, if you listen to the last episode of Shadow Band Podcast, you would know I agree with you. They can't even take a screenshot, dude. I've watched them in real time not know how to take a screenshot.
They don't even know what the hell a bump stock is in Congress. Like they're worthless, right?
Let's start on what like
they think a pistol grip makes a gun automatic. Like they're worthless. But in the government, like the big government.
To go back to the shadow government, though, I think that the shadow government is more about power than anything, and I don't think that they really have a hold on technology like you think they do. I definitely think that they have first dibs on some of the best stuff that comes out. You know, I definitely agree there, but I don't think they're generations ahead of us. Yeah, I don't see that as a thing. I will say though that the my true opinions on what UFOs are will come out on the Halloween special.
Really, bro?
Yep. We'll be recording it probably within a month, but yeah.
My opinions on UFOs will change 47 times between now and Halloween. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Mine will say exactly the same because I may be ugly, but I'm unflappable.
All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yep.
Jeff, you know I love you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Majestic 12. A document stamped top secret and eyes only, dated November 18th, 1952, titled Briefing Document. Operation Majestic 12 prepared for President-elect Dwight D. Eisenhower, began circulating among UFO researchers sometime between 1985 and 1987. This Majestic 12 that is referred to in this document is in reference to the group of high-ranking military officials and scientists whose sole purpose was to investigate UFO sightings and crashes, with this document being the tool written to convince President-elect Eisenhower to continue the secrecy of President Harry S. Truman's non-existent program that was established immediately after the UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. In this document, there were 12 members listed as active members at the time. Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter, Dr. Vannevar Bush, Dr. James Forrestal, General Nathan Twining, General Hoyt Vandenberg, Dr. Detlev Bronk, Dr. Jerome Hunsaker, Mr. Sidney Sowers, Mr. Gordon Gray, Dr. Donald Manzel, General Robert Montague, Dr. Lloyd Berkner, and a 13th member in replacement of Dr. Forrestal after his death in 1949, a General Walter B. Smith. A famous man within UFO circles by the name of William Moore was the first to circulate this now famous document, but there have always been those that are weary of its authenticity. It seems that throughout the history of this document being released, various aspects of the many pages have been thoroughly scrutinized, such as the placement of the quote-unquote top secret and eyes-only stamps, the single spacing, the type of paper, the headers, fonts, and even the most importantly, the signature of President Harry S. Truman, which deniers believe was a signature cut out of another document of his and photocopied onto the MJ-12 documents due to it looking exactly alike, down to a slight smudge near the signature. When two agents of the FBI showed up to the Pentagon in 1988 to ask for assistance from the DIA, they were there to ask for assistance in their investigation of a handful of questions. 1. How did someone steal these top secret documents? 2. Who stole them? 3. Where did they steal them from? And 4. Were they even real? The FBI was not the official holder of the documents, but when such documents do go missing, the FBI is the agency responsible for investigating the occurrence. But even the FBI at the time didn't know if the Majestic 12 documents that were being circulated were even real, as there was no official record of the group ever existing. All the agents knew was that orders had come down and they were to investigate. Bill Moore came into possession of these incredible, if real, documents by way of a payment of service to the secretive man known to him only as the Falcon for his reconnaissance of a man by the name of Paul Benowitz, and his work on a project referred to as Project Beta, where he was trying to prove the existence of alien contact and proof of the United States government's treaty with the entities. The document came to Moore in the form of a roll of undeveloped film, which was originally received by his associate, producer Jamie Shandera, who received it after it was dropped through his mail slot by an unknown person. This mysterious Falcon character has since been considered to be a high-ranking official from one of the many different government secret organizations known as the Aviary. Majestic 12 stands as one of the only possible real government leaks of a completely secretive group that was never meant to break the seal of publicity. It also stands as the only group in the presentation that may not actually have existed, but plenty of evidence does point to this organization being legitimate. So, people who are listening, just so you know, I kept the Majestic 12 section brief because I have already begun doing an entire episode on Majestic 12. Jake, you ever heard of Majestic 12?
No, but it should be a movie like the Hateful Eight.
Fair. Whatever. Jeff, you know Majestic 12. Come on.
Yeah, and there's like there are movies. In fact, there's like a documentary on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but there was a documentary on Netflix. It wasn't very good. It was all right. But yeah, Majestic 12. To be honest with you, I kind of tuned out while you're doing that because I posted a couple things in the chat and I was looking up some stuff about Twitch. But I'm stoked about that episode. I'll be into that one.
Oh yeah, Majestic 12 is going to be solid. I mean, there's a lot of people that blame the whole Men in Black phenomenon on Majestic 12. Basically, the real gist of the concept of Majestic 12 was that they were a secret government agency meant to keep the peace and do some research on UFOs and their interaction with humans. So that would cover things like alien abductions, just sightings in general.
So is Hollywood just a subset of the government that's just screwing with people, trying to get them into thinking that all these programs are just fun and just like they're just movies and they're just stories, right? We got Men in Black, we've got was it the Fourth Kind and all those other movies talking about alien like sightings, abductions, and contact and things like that. It's just,
of course.
It turns out Hollywood is just a subsect of the U.S. government where they're just trying to show everybody like, hey, man, it's nothing. There's nothing going on, man. Stare at goats. Come on, bro.
Yeah, there's a long history of the CIA in like, actors and musicians and a lot of back when like MK Ultra and stuff was happening. A lot of the musicians and actors were getting involved with people that were one step removed of these programs and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, there's a whole thing about that, but of course there's part of it is like the mockingbird media, right? That's your like fake news, your mainstream media, where the CIA is like handing out scripts like, here's what the news needs to portray, here's the main narrative that we need to stick to. Of course we can bicker amongst each other about this and this to cause division, but here's like the main narratives we stick to.
We need to cover. Rogan pointed out that one time where it had all the main media personalities all repeating the exact same line or the exact same sentence about COVID,
and then you have also the CIA involved in pop culture with things like introducing like gangster rap into communities, and all just a long history of this, man. Like, of course the government or the pop culture is just the arm of the government. It's a propaganda arm of the government, just like any other country. If you think about it, when we look at North Korea, right, we all see like everything is very propagandized to be very pro Kim Jong-un, right? And like this whole Korean government thing. And it's like an extreme version, but we live in the same type of thing here, even though we think we're free. It's just a very like, I don't know how to explain it. It's very it's blended very well into the culture so you don't really notice it so much, but the same thing is still happening here.
We need to do an episode on Project Mockingbird.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that's bullshit, but that's been proven to be real, 100% real. The CIA legitimately had an entire program created to control the narrative with media outlets. It was called Project Mockingbird. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Project Mockingbird's not dead.
I believe it.
There's compilations of news anchors saying the exact same thing, and even trying to use those say different words but use the same phrases like hooks. And there's like long compilations. We've all seen them. And the most
different words, but they're all synonyms. Yeah.
Yeah. The most recent one I could think of is at the DNC. It's electric, right? The electricity, right? All of the reporting was like, yeah, it's electric in here, right? It's electric. And the more that I heard it, I saw like this compilation of them saying it's electric. And then I remember, not to get into it, I know we're not on the other show here, but everybody kind of knows how she is now the Democratic nominee, right? And what that process looked like going into it. And some people are cool with it, some people aren't. That's up to you, whatever. But electric, it was a trick election, right? Some people are going to get onto that. The conspiracy theorists are going to jump onto this. Just mark my words. I promise you. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying this is what's going to come down the pipeline. So just be ready for the word game there. Yeah, it's going to be some QAnon shit.
I think the one that I haven't watched anything from the DNC yet, I don't care, but the one where saying that JD Vance and Trump are weird, and every single Democratic news media was just on that. They're weird, and I don't know, it's hard to say because I'm not there, but when I think a specific party controls the funding for another governmental group, you'll see that narrative being pushed or whatever it is. I don't think that the right or the left, that they're squeaky clean of corruption and all that sort of stuff. I think it's more along the lines of it's all in the same boat as far as corruption goes. But you'll see those same narratives going on and on and on and on and on. And it's just like, so yeah, I definitely think that they're still doing that today, where the media controlling and all that sort of stuff. Wowan said, so we can be unburdened by what has passed and past what has been unburdened.
Unburdened what has been.
Yeah. Anybody listening, like Jeff had posted there in the chat, don't click on links in the chat, please. That is not a link by us. Don't click that.
Yeah, you'll get into your occasional bot. So
yeah. Cool. Well, I have two very small sections left, two smaller projects to talk about, and then we're done.
All right.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
They always tell you there's a catch, a compromise, an asterisk. Terms apply. See store for details. May be less than advertised. May vary by mood. Probably. Sprite Zero Sugar? It's different. It's the lemon lime flavored refreshment you want with zero sugar. So, no fast voice? No caveats. Just refreshment. This is Sprite Zero Sugar. Obey your thirst.
Año Nuevo. Los mismos Extra Value Meals en McDonald's. Ahora te puedes llevar 2 snack wraps y papitas y una bebida mediana por solo $8. Solo por tiempo limitado. Precios y participación pueden variar. Los precios pueden ser más altos en Hawaii, Alaska y California y con entrega.
All right, the first one is Project Twinkle. On October 24th, 1948, Ellen Peterson reported witnessing a green object in the sky over Phoenix, Arizona. Soon after, another report with the same description came in November of the same year. Another was submitted by 4 separate people on December 20th, 1948. They were all reporting green glowing objects accompanied by green streaks and green flashes. In response, the Air Force attempted to establish Project Twinkle to investigate reports specifically about green objects in the area by way of observation and photographs. But it never took off and was canceled after 2 years. And the official statement was given that the objects were likely natural in origin. These reports were then handed off to Project Sign and are now obtainable within the archives of Project Blue Book. More about the green balls of light in the sky of the Southwest in future episodes of Infinite Rabbit Hole, as there is plenty to talk about when it comes to Project Twinkle and the green lights. Project Stork. Originally a classified study on Soviet technological warfare abilities, Project Stork would add a secondary task to be carried out by the Battelle Memorial Institute in Columbus, Ohio. Battelle was tasked with looking at all 3,201 cases from Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book with 2 separate sets of eyes. The first set of researchers would be given 1 report at a time and would be asked to categorize each under either balloons, astronomical, light phenomenon, birds, clouds, or dust, insufficient information, psychological, unknown, and other. Then another set of researchers would look at the same cases, one by one, and if they chose to place the report into the same category as the previous group, then that case would then be solved and discarded from the pool of still unknown objects. This, of course, was different for those labeled unknown or other. The findings of Project Stork were published as Special Report Number 14 of Project Blue Book and were met with an overwhelming amount of criticism. There are also a lot of unanswered questions with what number report it actually was, with many claiming that it was instead Project Blue Book Status Report 13, with others claiming that the Project Stork report not being included in the Project Blue Book Special or Status reports at all. All right, so I know those ones were brief, quick, to the point. Project Twinkle will be talked about later on. I had to stop myself there because I would have just written a whole nother episode on Project Twinkle and we would be here a lot longer. So I didn't. I kept it really short for you. You're welcome.
I'm curious who does the names for these projects, because I want to submit Project Butt Stuff for the next Alien one. Because I mean, it doesn't even matter. By the time it gets released and like declassified, we'll all be like evolved to where we're laying eggs anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? So
cute.
Yeah,
that's cute. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
it's just, it's kind of a waste of money.
Definitely.
In some ways,
it's just money laundering.
Of course, they're just like,
That's all it
start
is.
a program. Oh, there's green lights in the sky. Hey, we're gonna need like however many. I don't know. I wonder how much money funded Project Twinkle when they just wanted to. What are they going to do? Study this with observation and photographs? Yeah, you and everybody else, douche. You know. So
yeah,
how many tens of millions did you get approved for to do that for 2 years?
Yeah.
I think
there is something going on, but there's an awful amount of money laundering and garbage going on with it. All these projects, they all need funding. Like Jeff was just saying, someone's going to get the funding. Like, hey, man, you're photographer, we're gonna hire you for this. You pitch us half, and we'll give you $10 million. You put $5 million in my bank account, and we got you.
Yeah, and it's not that simple, obviously, but
to the lines.
There's ways. There's ways to make that happen, but yeah, that's what that is. That's what a lot of these projects are. But I do think that there is, just kind of going back to some of the previous sections a little bit, I do think kind of what I was saying earlier, they figured out how to do a lot of this like crazy woo-woo stuff throughout the 60s and the 70s. And maybe before that, they might have been working on it too. I don't know. But in the 80s and 84, I think it was, Gateway Process gets published, right? That gets sent to, what was it, Army Intel Operations or something, like the head of Army Intel.
Yep.
Right. So at that point, a year goes by, boom, the first project you talked about starts, right? On this, in this episode at least.
Yep.
So at least that kind of tells me, all right, that information got like disseminated somewhat, and now some programs get started, and boom, they figure out what's going on. And then, like we were talking about earlier, now the government's kind of have an idea what's going on. Maybe they're working on some of their own stuff now. They're getting dripped some of this information.
If I remember, what was the name of the project you were just talking about? The one that we covered, the Army Intelligence,
Gateway.
That's right, Gateway. Gateway was a cahoots with CIA, wasn't it? Wasn't the CIA, but they used the Army Intelligence Division for
It was the Monroe Institute, CIA, and some people from Army Intel, right? But obviously everything's on need to know. But that Gateway Process document that we were reading from in those episodes was the analysis and assessment of the Gateway Process.
Yeah.
And it was
which we need to finish.
We do need to finish. It was that group of people that we just talked about basically telling the head of Army Intelligence, I think Army Intel Command is what it was called. I might be wrong on that, but boom, they were basically telling them, hey, here's all this shit. Here's how it works. Yes, it's real. It's not so woo. Boom, here you go. And then, like I said, a year later, they're using it to look for UFOs.
We do need to do that. We need to do it. Jeff?
We just have to figure out, we have to go back and figure out where we left off. And we just need to finish reading through it.
I guess we just got to start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
No, we're not. If we're going to start from the beginning, we're not going to read through it because that's mind numbing.
We have to.
No, it's the law.
Yep.
It's not
We have
the law.
to. Well, all right. So I'm going to do something a little different right now. So those listening, if you are not part of the live presentation, I'm going to cut you off right here. We'll be back in 2 seconds to finish up the episode for you. And now we're back to the audio only version. So if you weren't here for the live chat, you don't know what we said because I cut it out for you. Yeah. We're going to do that at the end of every live episode. We're going to talk about something that only live people get to hear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We got to try to get you out here somehow. Anything else, gentlemen?
This is part 2 of 2?
Yep, part 2 too. Just as a recap, though, for those that weren't here last week, I announced that we will be diving into most of the topics that we discussed today and last weekend in full in other episodes or upcoming episodes of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. So this is basically like a introduction to U.S. government UFO programs. We're going to dive into each one of them eventually throughout time. Some of them, which I have already started diving into. But yeah, this was just kind of like a brief overview of what you can expect in the future.
So this is basically our final thoughts.
This is it.
All right. So my final thoughts haven't changed at all. Now, I don't know if it's mostly spiritual, mostly man-made craft, inner earth stuff. I don't know what it is, but the idea of anything coming from outer space is just asinine to me. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense how they could have the technology to travel thousands or millions of light years and they still need landing lights or, aircraft lights. It just doesn't make any sense. It way more points out to craft here on Earth, which they have to kind of go with the same types of light fixtures and things like that as everywhere else, even if they are super fast. Now that being said, it could be spiritual. Like Jeremy said last episode, it could be biologic, right? There could be atmospheric animals like we see with the rods and whatnot, which, we do know that there's animals here on Earth that have bioluminescence and stuff, right? They create their own light. So in that sense, I suppose like it makes sense, right? Like, or it could be like the Nope alien, there could only be one or two, I don't know what the life cycle is, whatever. But it is interesting, the U.S. government getting so deep into basically what's out there and how to find them and how to search for them and how to research them and all that sort of stuff. But I definitely believe, especially in the light of what's going on today around the world, without getting too heavily political, that like we said in the last section, that it sounds like an awful lot of money laundering, where it's just some BS type project where they could funnel millions of dollars into it, say, well, we didn't find anything, or we found one or two things, right? If we're really doing our homework and our due diligence, and then funneling that money elsewhere. So it really has left me in the exact same spot as when we started. And I have, if the aliens from, was it Peru from earlier this year or late last year?
You talking about the Varginha?
Yeah, the little tiny ones.
You talking about the Varginha, Brazil?
Brazil, maybe?
With the red ones that were toxic and killed an officer?
No. I'm talking about the actual, like, in the news.
Yeah, Peru. Yeah.
Okay. So we would have to have proof like that or a live specimen for me to ever agree to the idea that these things are from another planet. They're biologic from another planet or whatever it is. But as it stands right now, I mean, you're just not going to convince me.
Could you even believe that at this point, though? Because they have genetic editing technologies that are like in the public now, right? Like CRISPR technology and stuff like that. So if they rolled out like some alien, literally an alien, and they're like, this is some unknown DNA. Oh my goodness. Like, could you even still fully believe that it's from another planet?
No.
Well, that's the problem, is that, yeah, they have CRISPR gene editing, or they say that they do, but as it stands right now, I haven't seen anything definitive to show, hey, this is something we created using CRISPR gene editing. Like, they want to bring back the mammoths and all that sort of stuff. Well, they don't have them yet, right? And even then, it's only another type of elephant with some DNA from a mammoth, right? Or whatever it is. So it's just like, we don't have enough to where something like that would be absolutely obvious or whatever it was, to where I'd be like, oh, shoot, that's something that they made in CRISPR, or using CRISPR rather, instead of, that's something alien or whatever it is. But even still, I would probably be more under the belief that it's something from some island we haven't discovered yet, some unknown animal or whatever it is, versus an alien being. So I suppose you're right. But I don't, especially with the rise of AI, I mentioned probably last episode, like, I've had to abandon all of those Bigfoot Facebook pages I followed because they're flooded with just stupid AI images. And it's even worse because you get into the comments and people are like, wow, how'd you get all 20 big feet to stand still like that for the photo? And it's like, you're an idiot, type stuff. It's just like, I don't even know if we could see something these days, like a news report of an alien spacecraft coming down, and we wouldn't immediately be like, all right, well, that's AI generated, or that's CGI, or whatever it is. This is previously recorded, edited, all that sort of stuff, like a movie, and they're just playing it on live TV to try to get a coax a scare out of people.
This is exactly what I was saying about Project Bluebeam. Might not actually have to be holograms and so on and so forth. It could literally just be an AI generated broadcast that's just forced out to every smart device on the planet. And if everybody on the planet's forced to watch this fake alien whatever, right, experience, and then the grid goes out after, well, that's what happened.
It would be very similar to War of the Worlds when the radio broadcast came out. There was mass hysteria from people tuning in after the announcement saying this was Orwell's War of the Worlds. And then, they throw that out and then they start doing the reading, and it sounds very similar to a reporter, the narrative that they had. And then people start tuning into the radio after the, hey, this is from the book War of the Worlds, thinking that this was actually going on, that aliens were invading, because they heard a news broadcaster's type voice. Oh my gosh, the aliens, they're coming out of the ground, and they're vaporizing everyone, and all that sort of stuff. And there was mass hysteria. It could be just like that, except visual. So I don't know.
I think it was H.G. Wells, by the way. I don't think
H.G.
it was
Wells,
George.
not Orwell.
Yeah, Orwell.
Not the popcorn guy. H.G. Wells.
Kind of reverse a little bit, just to fill anybody in that's listening. Is you may or may not know what CRISPR is. CRISPR is a gene editing technology where they use a protein called Cas9 to basically act as scissors and cut DNA. And then they can basically paste them. So it's a way for gene altering. Jake and I were actually going to cover it very, very early in the Infinite Rabbit Hole. And we ended up never covering it, but that's it in a nutshell. Yes, Jeffrey.
That's just like the public stuff, right? And this is another one of those like coin goes to the Alex Jonas right jar, because I remember like 10, 15 years ago, he was talking about like they're making chimeras, and people are like, you're crazy. And if you look up, what that is, what he's talking about is like that there are programs where they're splicing and mixing DNA to create new life forms, and they're doing
making mutants.
They're making mutants, and they're doing this in labs, right? And most of them are nothing. Most of them are just like one or two cells, and they're just watching what happens. But somewhere in some lab, that must be advancing to some level where something must be walking around on 2, 4, 6, 8 legs, however many it is. And like, yeah, it's crazy. And it's that ended up coming out. Like there are articles and like there are chimera programs, and in the US there's laws against doing some of this stuff, but like in China and other places there's not, right? So like who knows what they're creating underground.
You know what I found out yesterday, and I got really upset about? The Netflix show Inside Job is officially canceled. It's been canceled for a year now, and I didn't know that. I was pissed. But the character Glenn Dolphin, who is I believe he's Army general, he's a dolphin, right? So George Dolphman, it's a play on words, but his character is directly it's using CRISPR-Cas9. That's what they're talking about when that character is that's the character's build. He was CRISPR'd into being half dolphin, half man. Yeah.
You talking about that cartoon?
Yeah, the one that has like big feet and aliens. And
I've watched the new season. That's a bummer.
But people who have, and I don't know how much of this is real or not. You'll probably find out more in your research, Jeremy. But like in the My Labs, right, the military abductions, there's claims that some of these chimera projects were being used as the aliens to abduct people. That's why I wasn't even just using that as like a random off example. Like there have been people claiming that that's what they're doing. So
a lot of people don't understand how connected all this shit is. I fully agree, or not that I agree. I've also heard that CRISPR-Cas9 has been used, or CRISPR has been used to create alien being chimeras and be used for my labs. One of which, when I mentioned during the Aliens, Owls, and UFOs Screen Memories episode that I said I could do another episode on it, one of the topics I was going to talk about were chimeras between humans and owls. That potentially could be something that the MyLab program was using, and the reason why hypnotic regressive patients or victims of alien abductions see owls all over the place. Let's see. I had one other thing. Oh, that's right. You guys were Jake had a long time ago mentioned, is Hollywood just making movies for us to think that everything's a joke? Well, my comment there was yes. And we know that they know how to do it because they filmed the moon landing. Stanley Kubrick. Yeah. So we know they know how to use a camera.
Well, they definitely know how to use cameras.
Well, that's a predictive programming in my opinion, that's mostly predictive programming. I think there's really two elements to it in the Hollywood thing, to go back to that. I think part of it is predictive programming, where there is elements of like the CIA and the Mockingbird media, and they're like seeding the population with certain ideas so that they can push narratives and blah, 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 right? Predictive programming, boom. I also think that there's some people, when they get into these flow states, I've talked about this 1,000 times, when you get into these flow states, you do, I don't know if you want to use the word like, are given information, or like some people say that they reach the Akashic records or whatever the case might be. But when you get in these flow states, things happen, like creativity happens, information is given to you. And I think some of these directors or writers, when they're in that flow state writing these scripts out, some of this higher information of things that are actually happening gets, seeded into what they're writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done with my list of things I wanted to circle back on. Jeff, what did you think of the series on UFO programs in the government from the 40s to the 90s?
It's pretty all right, No, it's good. I'd like to get into each one of them a little more, right? Because this is like the stuff that I like to think about.
I'll tell you, the two that you can expect first are going to be Foo Fighters and Majestic 12. Those two are well into the research already. Foo Fighters is cool. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm about it.
All right. Well, yeah, that's it. Anybody have anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Hey, thanks to everybody that showed up in the chat. Really do appreciate you guys made this episode a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Shout out to the chat. And for those of you listening and watching, this has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. We'll see you down the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.